Basically, I was suffering with a particular injury at the time, and as a runner, I've kind of been prone to a few injuries. So that was the immediate sort of call to action, really. But I've been acutely aware that I've always sort of lacked flexibility, general kind of mobility, and so knew that there was definite room for improvement in that area. So I guess kind of like had two good reasons to get in touch. Yeah, I've always kind of like realized that flexibility is important. And probably those two things are actually, well, since I've been talking to you, those I've learned that those two things are definitely sort of like linked. So if you try and go for like the fast times as a runner and do the sort of like power stuff without having that sort of suppleness, that flexibility, ability to move your joints and your muscles freely, then that can lead to injury. So it's kind of like important to get that side of things right. Picked up a calf injury. That's kind of a common thing with runners, and I sort of like getting into a pattern with it because I'd had exactly the same injury a year before, but on the other leg. So I was kind of beginning to get worried that perhaps it was going to be a sort of regular occurrence. But hopefully that won't be the case now that I'm doing sort of specific exercises around that to improve flexibility and I guess sort of overall, well, not overall, but muscle conditioning in that sort of particular area. Yeah, there was just a lot to it, as in a lot of benefits to it. So specifically around flexibility, which I could see would lead to an improvement in running, and that's kind of like my ultimate goal. I mean, like all runners, we kind of like put the injuries to one side, even though that's kind of like important. So that was kind of like the alert really to get in touch, and I figured that was something that you could sort out, which you did. But on top of that, if your body is working correctly, then that leads to faster times and being a better runner and having more stamina and just the muscles generally operating better. But not just the muscles. I think it all sort of like comes together and works together to get those faster times in, which is kind of like a runner's ultimate goal. So I guess that was kind of like perhaps it shouldn't have been. Perhaps the injury thing should have been the most important thing, but it's kind of like getting those faster times in was the real sort of motivator, if you like. The longer term goal, immediate goal was injury, and then medium to longer term goal was to get faster times. One, how there was a lot of room for improvement in the I knew I wasn't very flexible, but it kind of like confirmed that. But it gave me some exercises that I could carry out with you and on my own, which is really valuable. And also how things were sort of surprisingly, I think, was kind of things were connected together. So perhaps sort of a particular kind of like exercise that I hadn't figured would improve a certain part of the body actually did. So again, this sort of comes back to the theme that everything is sort of connected. So you could be sort of like doing something, let's say, on your right hand side of your body, but that actually had a positive effect on the left side. So I think the connectivity of it all surprised me a little bit. And I was really pleased that, I mean, I had this sort of other bit of more of a niggle than an injury in terms of sort of bit of pelvic pain, and just within a few exercises of that, it literally like not went away completely in the very first session, but I sort of like noticed that particular exercise improved things, and then I sort of kept that up for a few days on my own, which is kind of a good thing about the sessions. You've got your own plan to follow it on. So that kind of like disappeared, and it's like gone now. So that was a real big takeaway and benefit. Yeah. better understanding of how the exercises worked and got those into my head, I guess, so that things were a little bit more automatic in terms of knowing what the routines were, and how to move. And also back to this idea of connectivity, how things sort of work together, because we looked at diet and weight and that sort of side of things, as well as the specific, perhaps it was more specific on the muscles and limbs side of things in the first session, but the second session was a bit more holistic and brought everything together. Definitely positive encouragement to do it. Absolutely. I think first of all, it's 2 weeks, so it's not like a massive commitment. So even if you are putting something like this off because you're short of time, it doesn't take a lot of time, and it's just booking that time in and going ahead to do it. But it is really valuable, and I think the fact that you can then pick that up between the sessions, and you gave us some specific exercises to do there between the sessions, and then reviewed those in session 2, and then the fact that you can carry on afterwards, it's definitely worth making that investment in terms of time, and in terms of money, it's extremely good value, I would say, because of that reason, because it's not just the 2 sessions, but it's outside of the sessions and the exercise plans, videos and stuff that you can continue to follow for forever afterwards. So yeah.